Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And this week we got a big relegation six-pointer to preview, or maybe
Mhm.
not. Firstly, let me introduce you to our Manchester United correspondent. It's Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, mate. And our Southampton correspondent, Matt Samuels here. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
Good stuff. Right, I should say we're pre-recording this on Tuesday, but largely all three of us are pretty depressed with football life at the moment. But Gary, you must feel better after Sunday at Anfield.
Yeah, really encouraging. Thought they played well. You could clearly see what they were trying to do. They didn't just sit in and try and dig out a result, which must have been a temptation given everything that had gone on. There must have been a real temptation to, play for a dire 0-0 and kill the game, but they didn't. They carried a threat all game, and um, I don't know. I don't. Maybe unlucky not to win it. I don't know if we deserve to win it, but I don't know. We certainly could have won it, and I don't think it would have been that undeserved if we had have nicked it. So yeah, really encouraging, and even the as a team it was encouraging, but even the individual performances were most of them played better than they have done for a while, apart from a couple maybe. So yeah, hopefully it's the start of something though, because already been a couple of encouraging performances that then haven't been backed up. So, but I think that says more about the inconsistency and the just the level of the players than anything else. But yeah, hopefully they start something.
Well, this is it, isn't it? We've kind of had this a few times under Ten Hag, didn't we? Like, oh, great result in a really difficult game. You drew 0-0 at Anfield last season, right? When everyone thought
Yeah,
you'd get battered, and then not followed up on good performances and good results. Same as after you won at the Etihad. How do you reflect on the Christmas period and the three games without scoring now that the Anfield game has gone?
yeah. I mean, look, obviously Amarin knows those players better than all of us do, and he seemed pretty pissed off with them that they turned that performance in on Sunday, having not been able to do it for the other days. But I don't think that's a I don't think that they're trying to do that. I don't think they throw the towel in. I just think they're an inconsistent group of players, and in trying to get used to a formation. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I don't think that'll change for a while yet, because the nature of those players and the nature of moving to a 3-4-3, which is quite a complicated system, isn't it? Especially for those players who've only ever played 4-3-3, really. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I don't think they weren't trying on some of those other games. They were looking on some of those other games. I mean, if you go into a Newcastle game where you pretty much forced to play Ericsson and Casemiro in midfield, I mean, people say he could have started Manu, but Manu needs a rest at times as well. So you know, the Wolves game was a bit of a daft one. You concede from a corner again, and
After
your
the red
best player,
card?
yeah, and your best player gets sent off. Those games happen anyway. So yeah, I mean the Christmas period was disappointing, of course it was, but I don't think just because they turned up on Sunday means that they were phoning it in for the other games. I think they are trying every week, and I thought they were trying under 10R. I think they just some of them are. That's the
So
level that they're at.
you wouldn't subscribe to the theory that perhaps there's a mentality issue here. Hey, it's Liverpool, everyone gets up for it. You don't think that's the case here?
Well, there might be a thing. I think there might be a mentality thing of that they can't sustain a performance week to week because because that's just how they're built. I don't think there's a mentality thing of saying, "Oh, we're playing Wolves, we're not interested, we'll just toss it off. We're playing Notts Forest, we'll get beat 3-2. Oh, it's Liverpool on the telly, we'll perform." I don't think it's that kind of mentality thing where they're only interested in the big games. I think it's just the type of people and standards that they're at. That these are the performances you get. That you are going to get a good performance off them and then a bad one. I don't think they're trying to do it or like I said, they're phoning it in. That's just what they are, unfortunately.
Is it also perhaps that you might be better off playing teams of higher caliber at the moment, in the sense of like you kind of against Newcastle kind of fell into like a 5-2-3 off the ball and you were just getting murdered in midfield. At the weekend, it got more defensive and went into a more 5-4-1, But then as a result of that, you managed to attack better because you did it as a collective rather than a disjointed unit. That's how it felt to me. And that's in a weird way, that's easier to do when you're playing a higher caliber opponent, you've got less of the ball.
Yeah, there might be that, and I think the Newcastle game will remain anomaly though because it doesn't matter what formation, what you want to do. If you play in midfield with Eriksen and Casemiro, and that's up against Joe Linton and Gameres and what Newcastle do, it was never going to work. So yeah, I mean, we might be better off playing the bigger teams just while we get used to it. But equally, we can only say that for so long. We're going to have to start putting teams away, as we build through this because this is the trap Solskjaer fell into, is that he got to the point where he was good against the Man City or on that counter attack, but we'd draw to the home games, and that cost him the chance from we were in a title race under Solskjaer for about a month, and that's what cost him. And obviously, we're a long way off title race now, but eventually, these are the things that are going to cost us if we try and get back in the top four or whatever. Is that we can't just rely on playing a good team every month. We're going to have to put some of the people around us away as well. So
Matt, did you watch the game Sunday?
Yeah,
Yeah, what did you think of United?
I thought they were pretty good, to be fair. I wasn't surprised that they stepped it up. I didn't think Liverpool were great, but yeah, you could definitely see that there was a bit of a change in United. I was really impressed with Bruno Fernandes. I thought he had probably one of his best games I've seen for a long time.
Yeah. How do you see it now, Gary, for the rest of this season? Is there any expectancy on anything? I mean, we kind of said target should be top five. Is that too far gone?
yeah, they've got no chance top five. I think the league season just becomes an experiment. Hope try and build this way of playing. Try and work out who will fit it next season and who won't. Try and work out who you might want to replace these players for next season, and throw all your eggs in the two cups. Obviously, difficult game on Sunday, playing Arsenal, but Arsenal aren't playing well at the minute either, are they? So might get
I,
through that. But the Europa League, if we can, make sure we get into the knockouts of the Europa League and maybe just focus on that, and with a good draw and a few lucky performances and a few good performances, you don't know how far you can go in that. So
does it mean you think you go full strength for Arsenal on Sunday? Is there every
um,
chance it's the same team that started at Liverpool? I guess there is, right?
I would think so because it's a week, and well, it will have been a week, and then we don't play until the Thursday after that. So there's no reason not to go full strength. I mean, I think he should have played a stronger team against Tottenham in the League Cup before Christmas. Now, I know that was a bit more of a congested period, but we're not a good enough team at the minute to be um, playing weaker teams in
We didn't
quarterfinals
get
of
any
cup
benefit of
competitions.
rotating from that, did you? Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we should. I think, but I mean, and it was that was an odd game as well. So maybe on a different day you don't lose that game, but yeah, we're not a good enough team to be throwing away cup quarterfinals. So hopefully, he doesn't do the same on Sunday.
I think the performance, as much as the result that we can kind of put away any fears people might have had of you getting sucked into trouble, which was certainly a narrative I was never going to buy into. And almost the Liverpool fans singing, "You're going down with the blue scum" at 2-1
Mm.
down at the weekend suggested, I think even they knew it was kind of in jest. It never crossed your mind, did it? People were generally talking about it after the Newcastle game,
No, it only crossed my mind because people were sort
talking about it.
of talking about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. It was, I don't think we'll have a good season. I think we'll do well to finish top half, but the idea that we'd get sucked into a relegation zone was, I find laughable. I mean, we've already got a decent points buffer anyway, and I think we'll win enough matches between now and the end of the season that we just meander along in mid-table and try and get ready for next year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's in trouble of being concerned until they're under 1 point per game. Crystal Palace are above that line, Matt, 21 points from 20. So is it just the bottom five? Is it Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, Leicester, and yourselves?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
Is there any hope here?
No.
Why?
We've scored 12 goals all season.
Okay, that's damning. Is that more than Everton? I'm not sure.
Uh,
It
Looking
can't be.
at
No, I don't think it
no,
is.
no, Everton have scored 15. So yeah, we've scored the least amount this season. Conceded 44, minus 32 goal difference. Every time a team scores early against us, just kills us entirely. So yeah, I'm now starting to get worried about that Derby record, and it's not one we want. Given we've got the 9-0s home and away. The last thing we need there is that 11-pointer, and I do think we will find a way to grind out some really shitty results. We had the 0-0 at Fulham, for instance, away from home a couple of weeks ago. We got a point there completely unexpected.
You could have won at Brighton. I
Yeah,
mean, the
could have won at
disallowed
Brighton.
goals, controversial.
Exactly. So we do have those games, and I do genuinely think at the moment we're better away from home than we are at home. We just seem to fold under pressure at home. Against yourselves, Chelsea, obviously now Brentford conceded 5 in each of those. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean, 5 goals conceded in 3 of your last 4 home games
Yep.
against varying degrees of quality of opponent is pretty alarming. I think you obviously had the spell early on in the game against my team. Chelsea rocked up with pretty much a rotated team.
Yeah.
And Brentford was the opposite of the Tottenham game in terms of the run away at the end. I guess if the game had carried on, it would have kept going, would
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. They gave up, and I think even Brentford alluded to that at the end there. He mentioned in his press conference about the fact that after 2-0, it felt like we kind of took our foot off the gas. I left at 3-0 just as it went 90 minutes, and you heard both of the goals go in as you were leaving the ground. So
Ivan Juric has obviously taken over. We spoke to you just after, obviously, Russell Martin's dismissal. You picked up, as you said, this credible draw at Fulham with a caretaker manager. New manager's come in,
yep,
3 defeats,
yep,
changed the system, looks like kind of permanent back three now. A
yeah.
back three that definitely didn't work. We had to change to in the game against my team when you went with a back four. What have you
Yeah.
made of Juric so far? Is there any
Um,
judgment on him on these first 3 games or not?
it's tricky because we thought change would come, and for the first half an hour, 40 minutes against West Ham, we were getting balls into the box. Onuachu was kind of getting on the end of them, albeit his finishing is woeful. He's become a bit of a parody at the club, which is actually becoming quite frustrating now with a lot of the fan base. But he just seems to be sticking with some of the players that it's been so obvious they aren't good enough. So you've seen the likes of Sulemana, for instance, come back into his lineups, and he's useless. We spent a fair chunk of money of him 2 seasons ago, and we're suffering because of it. Archer seems out of favour at the moment, and even then, at the weekend against Brentford, for some reason he puts Bree kind of out on the right there. After 45 minutes, he's kind of done, and then gets taken off again. There are some strange decisions going on, and I don't know whether he's trying to figure out who's worth sticking around next season. But he might not even be here next season. It could well be that the club go 6 months' time and they're like, okay, actually, we've gone in the wrong direction. We need someone with championship experience, someone to build again. That's my worry. Is he's maybe going to use these games as a bit of a lesson for himself rather than for the club, and that's a bit of a concern.
Well, is there already a concern? You're talking about end of season. I mean, it seems daft 3 games in, but you're talking about players giving up at the weekend.
Yeah,
That should not happen when you've got, I mean, it shouldn't happen anyway, but it shouldn't happen when you've got a new manager in charge.
no,
You're expecting some form of bounce. You've
yeah,
not had any.
no. We had it for 45 minutes, and as soon as West Ham got their goal, that was it.
Is there any mitigating in the sense there's been a few midfield players missing recently? Like Fernandes was suspended at weekend, Downs has been out, Smallbone's been out. Is there any mitigating in that in the sense that that might change something for you?
We're missing Downs massively. We have only real one in this system, one solid central midfielder, and that's Ugachukwu. And I mean, he has his off games. He looked great against Fulham, played well against West Ham, but went missing against Brentford. But when you put a Rebo next to him, for instance, he just hasn't got the legs or the tenacity to get about the pitch, the same as Downs. I do think we will go in for a central midfielder this window because otherwise that's all you've got. And as soon as you break through our midfield, you've got effectively 5v3 in most kind of attacking outlets there. That's a worry. We could maybe recall Shea Charles. Yeah, apparently he's doing really well at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, but I think that would be poor for his development. I'd rather keep him there in the Championship, gain that experience. But yeah, it's clear to see that we have weaknesses all across the pitch. But yeah, that central midfield just looks so isolated when it's effectively just Ogachuk we're doing the job there. And Matty Fernandes did okay against Fulham, but he's more of an attacking outlet. I'd prefer him alongside, say, Dibbling behind a forward.
What's the sell though? I mean, presumably you will do some business this month, but how do you sell it if you're actually purchasing? If it's a loan, okay, there'll be reasons why. But if you're actually trying to buy a player at the moment, how is that sold? Is that sold as you're going to be part of this really important team next year in the lower
Yeah,
division? Is that
it
the
has to
sell?
be. Yeah, we almost have to look at someone that's coming through or is a bit of a squad player elsewhere. And it's like, look, this is an opportunity to prove yourself. Do you want to be part of something that can come back up next season? Because that's the only way we're going to bring people in. I've heard loans, say Evan Ferguson, for instance, been mentioned. I know he's injured, but does he really want to come for 6 months? It will be a loan. He's not really going to get the service here anyway. It probably does him a discredit rather than improves his status anyway with Brighton. So I'd be surprised if we got any decent signings in, but hopefully there'll be someone out there.
Gary, how do you see them at the moment?
Yeah, I think I can't disagree with anything I've heard. It's a shame, isn't it? Because I think when they came back up this last summer now, I think there's quite a lot of excitement, wasn't it? Especially for people who don't watch the Championship, which I'm one of. So a lot of talk about Russell Martin and the style of playing. I always like it when teams come up and try and play football, because obviously it usually goes one or two ways now, doesn't it? Teams either come up and try and dig in and grind their way to 37 points, or they come up and they've got this philosophy, and and sometimes it works, and obviously sometimes it doesn't. So I think it's a shame that it hasn't, especially with Martin being a young British manager. So I think that's a shame. Yeah, and I mean, the new guy. I'd be surprised if he's there next season. I mean, it's one thing taking a job in the Premier League and going for that kind of experience, isn't it? But does he really want to step around the Championship for 46 matches to try and get you back up? Because that's a massive different type of pressure, isn't it? Because the idea that he might get you to 37 points and keep you up is one thing, but does he really want to try and, that Championship's a nightmare, isn't it? Does he really want to stick around and try and get 95 points and make sure that you get back up? Because that'll be the expectation, won't it? I would have thought. Yeah. Certainly a top 6 spot anyway, won't it? So like you say, it's only been 3 games, but the idea that if players' heads are going already, then it doesn't bode well, does it? So yeah, I think it's a shame though, because like I say, it would have been nice to see maybe more for Martin, just to bring a team up and play with this philosophy. And I don't know. I mean, you know more, but would they regret getting rid of Russell Martin when he's just proven he can get them up, and maybe the second time he comes up with you, he's a bit more streetwise and he can work out what he wanted. But I don't know. It's unfortunate, I think, because we don't have enough British managers, do we? No. So the idea that someone can get Southampton up playing a decent brand of football and then only get not even half a season to. I know the poor start season, and it didn't look like he would change, but we all said that about Vincent Kompany last season, and look where that got him. So I think it's a shame, but yeah, I'd be. Well, you don't know. There's a long way to go. I'd be surprised if Southampton can sneak their way out of it. But there's a lot of teams down there that are still catchable-ish.
They're not miles away,
run.
Matt, but they feel like they're miles away, right?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves are 10 points ahead of us now. I can't see us getting 3 wins the rest of the season.
That's so damning. Have you, when we spoke 3-4 weeks ago, you were kind of, Martin had to go. Have you changed your mind on that at all in reflection?
No, I think it was the right call. I mean, he had lost the fan base, and when you lose the fan base, particularly away from home, that's a real issue. Yeah. It felt like he had almost given up as well himself in some of his kind of interviews after the games. He was just seemed a bit downbeat and I think he could tell that it was only going one way. It would be great to see him succeed with another club, and I genuinely believe that if he has the right team and the right caliber of players, he could do a good job. We just don't have that at the moment, and that's because we're suffering from recruitment when Martin wasn't even there, let alone Juric. So, I think it's a huge rebuilding job in the summer. I personally think we're going to get rid of people in January. Juric has already spoken about cutting the squad rather than improving it. If we can get money for people that inevitably either will lose for free in the summer or, get them out on loan with a view to buy in the summer, I think we're going to, because it's inevitable we're getting relegated and we'll need to make that money back that we'll lose next season.
So you're almost saying that your squad might even look weaker in like 3 weeks than what it looks now.
Yep.
Wow. So I presume you're referring to people like, say, Cole Peters,
Yeah.
who's out of contract in the summer, like take 5 million now for him or something
Comfortably.
like that if you can.
If say a Palace, I could see him working with someone like a Palace, for instance. If they came in with 5 million, I think we'd take it because we're going down anyway. He hasn't had his best season, in fairness. So, it's either 5 million now or nothing in the summer. We take it. We've got three other right backs. Yeah, they're of, again, average quality, but we can at least cover in that position.
Well, yeah, when you've got like Manning and Charlie Taylor at left back as well, right? So
Yeah.
you're not actually, and actually, when you look through the squad, you don't look at your squad and think, you're light of bodies. I
No.
mean, I noticed Bella Kotchop was back on the bench at the weekend. We spoke about him last summer.
Yeah.
I mean, could he get a look back in now or?
Juric has actually said that it's up to Bella Kotchap whether he wants to play. He, has done an interview and, said that he wasn't really favoured by Martin. He was effectively told he was, not wanted. He obviously appeared in that cup game, and it was effectively just saying, look, he is fit. He's still here. Nobody came in and bought him. I personally think we might see him at the weekend against Swansea. He may well come in as part of that back three. Wood obviously went off at half time. We might see that, Bella Kotchap comes in alongside Bednarak and Harwood Bellis. Even if he doesn't want to stick around in the Championship, which I don't think he will, it would be good if, say, he got another run of 10, 15 games, because he's the type of player we could probably get 15, 20 million for from a German club, for instance.
Gary, if I offer you a 1-0 win next Thursday, do you take it?
Yeah.
Why?
Take any win. Take any win
Because of the
just
state of
keep.
what your results
Yeah,
essentially.
just to keep, as long as it's, well, I'll take any win really, but yeah, I don't think we're not in a good enough position to be saying, it's Southampton, we need to win in 5-0 and things like that. If it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago or whatever, then maybe you would be in that kind of mode. But we're not playing well enough. We're not scoring enough goals to be looking at that kind of thing. So yeah, if someone says 1-0, yeah, let's take it and move on and try and string a run of results together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was thinking, how would I feel if Tottenham were playing Southampton next? And even though we just had the really good
Yeah,
result against you last month, Matt, I'd be thinking, just so desperate for like a win right
Mm.
now. But I kind
yeah,
of allude to a point here, which I covered on Monday's podcast, Matt, that unfortunately you're about to get targeted now, aren't you?
Yep,
It's quite
massively.
clear. And most teams are not gonna feel like that and think, happy with a 1-0 win against Southampton. You're now being marked in a way, say, Sheffield United were
Yep.
in the past. I'm glad you mentioned the Derby 11 points so that I don't have to. But you are, by the sounds of it, legitimately concerned that you won't match the total you've got so far to hit that
They
number.
were on 7 at this stage of the season. We're on 6.
They got 4 points from Newcastle that season.
Yeah.
I don't suppose you will be. You lost their obviously opening day. That looks like
Yep.
a missed opportunity in hindsight. You've got them at home in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I think you will, Matt. I want you to know that it's really uncomfortable to have this conversation.
Yeah. No, I bet it is. Yeah.
To know that teams are just coming and targeting you in this way, and I very much hope that you get over that line and get more than the 11. I'm pretty convinced that you will, because I know that you'll play teams later in the season who'll have nothing to play for, and I think therefore you will, because that's going to be something on the fans' minds. Or is it because your club has suffered these galling 9-0s and stuff,
Yep.
including one against Manchester United, that kind of always gets like thrown at you? And so one of our patrons, Mark, was like, we have to keep dealing with the 9-0 thing. if we don't hit 11 points, we don't hit it. But is it a big deal to you? And do you
Yeah,
think it is to the majority of the fan base?
I think it is, yeah, because it's another one that people could throw at us. We forget about the fact that we've scored the quickest goal in the Premier League, the quickest hat trick in the Premier League. Because they're stats that are great for individual players, but it's not a squad stat. Whereas obviously the 9-0s and then this 11-pointer, it's damning for the side, and to have that lingering over them going into the Championship season, most of the players I expect will probably be around the squad next season, because who's going to want them after this kind of season? That's going to be huge for them over the summer, thinking about that for 8-10 weeks before the season kicks off again. Like, Christ, we only managed one win and a few draws in the Premier League season last season. You suddenly come up against some pretty solid Championship squads. That start is going to be key, and I mean, it's quite a negative mentality to have going into that kind of season.
Gary, do you want to answer the two trivia questions that Matt dropped in there?
Go on.
Quickest Premier League goal scorer?
Was it Shane Long, was it?
Yep.
Correct. Quickest Premier League hat trick?
I thought it was Fowler. Was it Mane then? Did Mane get
Yeah,
one?
Sadio
Was that against
Mane
Villa?
against Aston Villa,
Oh,
Matt, yeah.
Everton. Yep.
Yeah, just before Villa were about to play in a cup final, I think, if I remember that correctly. And they had a very awful end of season when they went down, going back sort of 5, 6 years, but they already had kind of more points on the board than what you've got now.
Yeah.
Gary, do you expect United to be busy this month in the transfer window or not?
No, unless we sell, we haven't got a penny to spend. I don't think so. Unless we can get people out the door, I don't think so. And I can't see. I can't. I know people have got different thoughts about Rashford, but I can't see a transfer that big happening in the January window. Feels like a summer transfer selling Rashford. So, because that'd be the obvious one to free up a load of money very quickly. So no, I'd be very surprised. Maybe some loans. I don't know. I'd be very surprised if we
Well, I
see a lot
guess
going
he's
on.
open to that, isn't he? A loan, or is he? We don't know. I guess the
Well,
club
we
would
don't know,
know
but
at
I
one
mean,
point.
it wouldn't, it wouldn't free any money up for United in the short term, would it? Alone, so um, but it might free up a bit of wages, but it wouldn't free up any actual cash flow to buy anyone or PSR room. So I'd be surprised if we buy anyone of any. We might do a few loans or a few cheaper signings, but I don't think there's any room for a proper signing.
Okay. What's your take on the Rashford situation? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's sad, really, more than anything else. I think if you get a player who comes through the ranks like he did, and a young striker and from the area, and scores the amount of goals he has scored over whatever it is now, 8, 9 years. We've he's won us a lot of trophies. Obviously, we've won a couple of FA Cups with him, and a couple of League Cups, won a European trophy with him. So it's sad that it's ended like this, but you know, there's two sides to every story, and I think he'll probably feel quite hard done by that this is how it's ended, and the sort of the scrutiny he gets, and I think he's probably got a point with that. But equally, if you play for Man United, that is the scrutiny, isn't it? So there's no point moaning and saying, "Oh, Jack Grealish doesn't get this scrutiny," or etc. etc. But yeah, because he doesn't play for Manchester United, so it's unfortunate for him. But equally, maybe in however many years when he's retired, he might look at himself and think, did I give myself the best opportunity to really kick on? Because every time he's had a 20-goal season and you thought, or even a 30-goal season, you thought, oh, there's a real player here. It's followed up by an 8-goal season, a 10-goal season, and some of that is probably down to the way the club's been run and different managers and managers not knowing how to use him, especially when he was a younger player. But it can't all be about managers either, can it? So I think it's just sad more than anything. And I hope that if he's going to go, which it looks likely now, that we just do it in a dignified as way as possible, because the pile on now from even from United fans is a bit, it's not a crime to be an inconsistent wide winger. It's not, he's not doing it on purpose, is he? So, and he's done a lot of good outside of football. So if they can just get get him a decent move, get some good money for the club, and to buy a player that'll fit this new system. I think they should all just try and work on that now and just let everyone move on, because there's clearly a player in there, but it's whether he can unlock it, and it's whether he can find a club that suits him, and probably needs to be a club where he's not expected to be the main man. He needs to be a supporting cast to a superstar forward, probably.
So Amram's first game was at Ipswich.
Yeah.
And he scored after a couple of minutes. He started
Yeah.
and he scored after a couple of minutes. Am I
Yeah.
right in saying he played up front that day? Am I right in
Yeah.
saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he played as the 9. In the
Yeah.
next league game, your first home league game under Amram, you beat Everton 4-0.
Yeah.
Rashford scored twice.
Yeah.
He then came out the team, played
Yeah.
half hour at Arsenal, played half hour against Nottingham Forest. We haven't
Yeah.
seen him since. So
Yeah.
actually, in his last start for Manchester United in the Premier League, he scored twice.
Yeah.
Are we missing something here?
Well,
He's
he's been out on the lash, and too close to a match, and Amorim's not been happy with it, and then he's not the only player to go out on the lash, is he? But if you don't back it up in training the day after, then and if that's got the ball rolling, and Amorim maybe had doubts about where he would play him in his system anyway. And look, fair enough, you score against Ipswich and Everton, that's fair enough. But as a wider body of work over the last 2.5 years, there's not been a lot there, or 2 years probably. There's not been a lot there. So, it probably didn't take a lot for Amorim to think. And if he's clearly not trained up to Amorim standards since. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how badly he's been training, do we? And we don't know, because that's whatever you say about that team and about Rashford. We're crying out for goals at the minute, and Højlund and Xerxes, I've got nothing against either of them. They're both willing runners. They're clearly trying, but they're not going to score any goals. And you base off last 2 years. Rashford's not, but at least there's a player there who could go on a run of getting us 10 in 10 type thing. And I don't know, but like I say, it sounds like they've all agreed that if Rashford's come out and done an interview and said that he might want to leave as well. So all of that combined, it's probably just best that they're all grown ups about it, and try and find a club for him and try and get some money in the.
It sounds like a clean break is probably for the
Yeah.
best. I one question though, and obviously you had players missing for the game against Newcastle, but he was named in the squad.
Yeah.
On the bench, you're 2-0 down,
Yeah.
not used. You didn't use all your subs. 7 minutes to go, he brings Anthony on. What's that as a message from Amorim?
I don't know. It almost looks petty, doesn't it?
A little
I don't
bit.
want to. Yeah, I don't.
He could have done you something for 10 minutes. Go on, get your strikes off. Whatever you got to do in 10 minutes, have a go. There was nothing to lose, was there?
No, and even if it was going to be, look, we'll let's shake hands and we'll move you on. Well, he should have put him on for 5 minutes so that he could have waved. He could have given everyone a wave, and the fans at Old Trafford could have given him a wave, and because now if he leaves now,
sad, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, it looks from the outside, and like I said, and it's not like he was saying, it's not like one of them where you go, we know we're going to get beat, so I'll just save you for the next match, because he wasn't even in the squad for the match after. So at face value, it looks really petty and a bit vindictive, but I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it's just the way the game went and that. But yeah, it does look a bit odd to do that.
Matt, can you pay his wages on loan for the rest of the season?
We'll take him on loan, but if you don't pay his wages,
yeah,
he'll at least be able to prove that he can maybe score a goal.
Yeah.
What do you make of it as a neutral, Matt?
I'm glad you mentioned that Newcastle point, because I thought that was really strange. It is a bit sad. I quite like Rashford as a player, obviously, particularly the stuff he does for the community as well as an individual. It definitely feels like there's something else going on outside of football as well. Obviously, you mentioned that he was out on the lash. There's clearly people around him, so there is maybe the possibility there of a clean break, but somewhere outside of the UK. I know you mentioned PSG, for instance, somewhere where he can have a fresh start as well. It does feel like there's something else other than just football going on there, particularly with his attitude. But yeah, I thought that Newcastle kind of squad inclusion, then not using off the bench, was a bit harsh.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think you'll just final question on Rashford, Gary? Do you think he'll play for you again?
No, I can't see when he would because no. Well, I don't know. If we don't sell him in January, then probably there must be a spot for him. So we're not going to let him rot for 5 months, are they? But
Doesn't make sense. It
no,
doesn't make
they,
sense.
they need to. They need one way or the other. They need to do something in January, even if it's a loan now with an obligation to buy or something like that. I hope he does. Even if it's just to, he's not going to go down as a club legend as such, But he's a better player than being kicked out the back door without having played for the last 3 months of his career. So I hope so, but I suspect maybe not.
Okay. He's not the only player that feels like he's kind of been pushed aside, although the difference here is that Garnacho has still been very much involved, but obviously the Manchester City game, they were both left out. But Garnacho has been constantly involved. He was really lively when he came on Sunday. How do you feel about him and his involvement in the team at the moment? Because there's obviously definitely an additional spark when he plays, but it doesn't feel like he suits this system.
No, so I don't think his skill set, certainly at the age he is at the minute and how he's formed for the first few years of his career, I don't really think there's a role for him in this system. Um, but then equally, when he came on Sunday in one of those attacking 10 roles, I thought he played really well and
Mm.
obviously set up the equaliser um, and I thought he did really well. So I'm glad that because obviously at one point when he wasn't getting it in the squad either, you thought, oh, is he looking to get rid of him as well? So maybe that's one where he just needs to get used to Amarim, and Amarim needs to get used to him, and they find a way of getting him in the team because I think there could be a player there. Now, obviously, you say that about a lot of young forwards, and it could easily go the other way. But I think there could be a player there. So it'd be a shame for him if we didn't try and capitalise on it if there is a player there. But yeah, I don't quite know where he would fit in, week out, because I can't see him playing at wing back. Not without a lot of work on his game anyway. And yeah, I don't know if them other roles suit him. So, but at least he's getting at least he hasn't been ostracised as well, and he's still getting sub appearances, and still a key member of the squad.
Okay. That team that started at Anfield at the weekend, is that your
Yeah.
strongest team now, do you think? Well, let's at least
Um,
say in Amrim's opinion.
I think Amarin probably. Yeah, I'd probably say Yoro would have to come in for
Delete.
probably Delete at the minute. I think Maguire's probably got himself ahead of
Gary, I saw you
Delete.
defending Harry Maguire after his miss at the weekend on our Slack community, and I want to say well done, mate.
Yeah, I'll defend him when he's
Not
I'll
shit.
only yeah, exactly, yeah, he's there's a reason why he was a squad player for a while and successive managers lost the job, but he played he played he
It's
played
solely on Harry
he
Maguire.
played not solely God, he wasn't solely Harry Maguire, of course he wasn't, but he played really really well on Sunday, and the idea that what happened in the last minute, so what, he's a centre back, not the best ball, defenders on the line, so what? So, yeah, but I think Maguire's got himself. I think if we play a back three, or sorry, we will play a back three. I think Maguire will be in it, and I think it's Delite or Yoro. I would say, and I think the rest of it. I suppose the only thing that you would say about that 11 on Sundays is that if we keep playing fullbacks in the wing back roles, we are going to look sometimes quite quite stodgy and quite easy to play against. Now that's fair enough at Anfield because, like you said earlier, we wanted to be a bit more compact and a bit more high up the pitch and get everyone together and bomb on as a group type of thing. But we won't be doing that every week. So that's maybe the only tweak is you try and get an attacking player into one of those roles. But I don't know who that would be. I think the rest of the team at the minute picks itself. I thought Ugarte, Menu, Fernandes were unbelievable. And then Hoyland or Xerxes toss of a coin at the minute, isn't it? Because you know,
I
the
mean, the
night.
difference in legs between Agati, Mino, Fernandes to Casemiro, Ericsson, and Xerxes is light years away, isn't it? And we should remember that. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Put the Newcastle game in the bin.
yeah, yeah. It was, I know people say, "Oh, well, Amorim picked that three," but Fernandez was suspended, and
And a
you know,
guy.
and Ugarte was suspended, and Maney was coming back off. He's been back a while, but he played a lot of football when he came in the team. He came in the team last winter, didn't start, went to the Euros, he played too much football for a 19-year-old midfielder. So they had to find the rest of him at some point. Now you can say, well, Newcastle at home when Fernandez and Ugarte was
Yeah,
suspended.
the
Might not
timing felt wrong to me
the
badly.
timing's not, but you don't know. It's not. It might be a physio said he needs a rest. You don't know what's going on, do you? So yeah, but I think that is the first 11 because there's not a lot else there, is there, really?
Okay.
Um,
Matt, can you tell me what your strongest 11 would be at the moment?
Yeah,
Refers to notes, checks youth team players.
you're probably looking at Ramsdale. I mean, I can see it. It will probably be Wood, Bednarek, Harwood, Bellis. I'd like to see Bella Kotchip given a go, but I
Pat
don't think he
Stevens when he's
will.
available again. I know he's out at the moment.
No,
No, so prefer
no.
Wood, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bednarek's been given the captaincy at the moment. I think he'll likely stick with that. The moment, probably Walker Peters, right wing back. Personally, prefer in the role Manning, left wing back. Don't think it particularly suits Bree and Sugawara. You've seen again defensively, he's a bit all over the place when he comes on. Downs, Ugachukwu, then probably Fernandez, Dibbling behind. I'd like it to be Archer, but I think he'll stick with Onuachu, albeit it did take him off early against Brentford.
Okay. You play Wolves at home in game week 29.
Yep.
I realise that's a way off, but it's blank game week, Matt. And therefore you will have one of the best fixtures in game week 29. I have legitimately seen people asking about Southampton forwards.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Matt is smiling for the benefit of those on the audio because he's seen it as well.
I've been asked many
Um,
a time.
What's the answer here? It looks like people are potentially moving towards five in midfield and looking for an enabling eighth attacker and for Southampton maybe to be it because it covers game week 29. If people want to go and buy Armstrong, Archer, or Onuachu, 0.2 difference between the three of them, which one are you saying?
I genuinely can't give an answer that will be there in 29 because I didn't think he'd drop Armstrong given he'd started him the first couple of games. Then he got dropped. Archer hasn't featured really in the last three games, came on for the last half an hour. Onuachu's played since Fulham, really. Hasn't scored, hasn't looked particularly great. I think there will be rotation depending on game state. I think some games will suit Onuachu. Man United might be one of those games, given you're up against a back three. The likes of Maguire, Martinez can get in there. I think Archer would be, eaten effectively by that back three. Whereas at least Onuachu is a presence. Whereas against someone like say Ipswich, maybe even Forest, you might see a bit of a change, a bit of pace, for instance. So it's really tough. If anybody wants an eighth attacker, just go Dibbling because he's going to get minutes. You've seen against Brentford, he was probably the only one in the last 20, 25 minutes. He was like, you know what, sod this. I'm going to try and take it on. Sometimes he doesn't play the ball that he really should, and he's young and he will learn. But I mean, he got the goal, for instance, the other week. So, against Palace before we then lost that one. I think he will pop up with the odd attack and return. So the only one I'm really telling people is ignore the forwards for now and just go Dibbling.
He definitely stays this window.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know we spoke about this before, but I only ask in terms of sellable assets for you if you want money. That's the golden one there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's potentially learned from that Chelsea move to then obviously come straight back. I think he will also stick around for the championship season next year because he is young. And unless a huge money bid comes in, I don't think we'll let him go because I just think he'll be a squad player elsewhere. We've already seen that with, a few others that went last season, like Prowse, and, that's effectively killed their careers at the moment. So I don't think Dibbling will want to make the same mistake.
Would you take someone like that on loan at the moment, James Ward-Prowse?
Yeah,
Because there's
100%.
speculation Forest might send him back to West Ham.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
But I don't,
I'd bring
if
him
he's
back, but
played
I
for
don't
West
think he
Ham, I
will.
don't know if he can play for you. That's the only
Mm.
thing.
Yeah, it's a real shame the way that went with Ward-Prowse, I thought West Ham would be a good club for him.
He
Hasn't
has played
worked
for
out.
West Ham this season.
Yeah, and then obviously he's gone to Forest. Hasn't really got the minutes, albeit came on yesterday, got an assist with them 3. But yeah, I feel for the guy, and yeah, I wonder where he'll be next year.
You're not going to recommend him 4.0 defenders, are you? You're going to tell him
No.
Jacob Graves to just save you
Yeah,
the trouble. Do you own any
absolutely.
of these Southampton players, Matt?
No, not
Do you own
anymore.
any Manchester United players?
No.
Are you looking at them?
I'm tempted by Ahmad in terms of the way that my squad's now set up. A move like Semenya to Ahmad might free up some money for the upcoming doubles, particularly if I want to then jump up to say a Gakpo, in the forward position, have a look at a reshuffle that way. I can't quite get to Bruno, otherwise he'd be the one I'm probably targeting. But like you, I've taken the Jota punt and I want to stick with it for now. So I'm not willing to get rid of that just yet.
Oh, don't tell people what I'm doing next week, Matt, when I don't know what I'm doing myself. Bruno Fernandes, 8.3 at time of recording. Gary Amad Diallo, 5.3. First and foremost, if people can pay the 3 million extra for Bruno, should they do it?
No, I don't think so. I think you can do too much with 3 million, can't you? Especially with all the other players that are doing well this season. So I don't think there'll be enough difference in goals and between them. I think Fernandes obviously still remain a bigger assist threat, but I think I don't think there'll be 3 million difference between them by the end of the season. It's in terms of the worth to the points that they both get.
Diallo, since Amram took over in the league, and we should obviously note that you've got a couple of Europa League games coming up, which I presume, like particularly Rangers at home, you're probably going to pick quite a strong team, I would guess.
Yeah, because I think we can. I think top 8 still reasonably achievable for us.
Yeah,
So I
it
think
definitely is, mate.
whilst that is still
And
achievable, and
Rangers
it's
are in the
been
8, so
yeah,
take
exactly.
them out.
So yeah, I think like I said earlier, I think we should be looking at putting all our eggs in that Europa League basket if we can. So yeah, should be picking our strongest team then.
You're 7th in that at the moment, Gary.
Yeah.
1
So
point
that's
ahead of
it.
Rangers.
Yeah. So if we can just solidify that, and but we don't want to be getting to the last game week, and so yeah, hopefully picks your strongest team in all the cup games from now to the end of the season.
Since Amram took over,
Mm.
Diallo has played 90 minutes in the league in all but 2 games. He was, I believe, a substitute at Arsenal, came on at half time, played 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and came off with 12 minutes to go in a 2-0 defeat at Wolves, and obviously you're down to 10 men. So other than those 2 away games, we've got a 90-minute player here. Over those games, he's scored twice and assisted 5 times.
Mm.
So it's 7 attacking returns in 9
Mm.
for 5.3. Now, I want someone who scores more often, but you ain't going to get a lot more for that money. And I've seen
Yeah.
people getting frustrated. I see people at the weekend calling him a troll. And I'm thinking, hang on,
Mm.
he's fucking Southampton after Liverpool, guys. That's why Matt's laughing for the benefit of those on the
Yeah.
audio.
I think people do that because people have done that with Pedro. It's like we buy these guys for 5.5 million and expect them to perform like Cole Palmer, or and it's like for that money you don't need that much, do you? I think, and I think the other thing that might have helped him as well is that when Amorim first came, he was playing in those wing back roles, wasn't he? But at the minute, he seems to have found himself as one of the 2 10s or whatever. So I think that's only to his benefit. I suppose the only thing, like I said earlier, is there a chance that we need to try and get more attacking players back in the wing back roles for some of these games? So then he might find himself back at wing back. But
Yeah.
I think for 5.3 and with some of the fixtures, I think it's definitely someone to consider as well. And the other thing is, if you do it, realise that by doing it, you're freeing up a load of money, and think if it allows you to get to Gakpo or whatever, the Gakpo points are kind of the Ahmad points as well, aren't they? So yeah, he's definitely an option. And I mean, Fernandes was unbelievable on Sunday. I just don't think he'll score enough points to make the 3 million difference, because you're never going to captain Fernandes either, are you? So I just don't think.
Matt, Salah goes to Forest. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the follow-up question.
Yeah, I
Fernandes
would.
captain? Because I don't think you captain Diallo though, do you, Gary?
no,
Because you
you
would be
wouldn't
quite
do.
concerned that you just suddenly, Garnacho plays against Southampton and he's wing back.
Exactly, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Fernandes,
Well, he's on pens as well, isn't he? And you've seen the type of penalties we're giving away. So
he has to be a contender this week, Gary.
Well, I think if you've got him, he's a contender. He's not. You're not going to bat. You wouldn't.
You wouldn't buy him to captain him. Why wouldn't you? If that's what you
I
want to
don't know. Maybe
do.
you would. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look. I don't think I'd be doing it. I mean, you'll have the stats there in front of you. Haven't all Southampton's thrashings come at home as well? They've not had
yeah,
many away, have they? All the fives have been at home, haven't they?
the other
So
fives have been at home, albeit you had
yeah,
the Arsenal and the Wolves and Bournemouth away games that we conceded 3 in each of those.
It's the
yeah.
same as Diallo,
So
by the way, since Amorim took over. It's 2 goals, 5 assists.
yeah, exactly. But for 3 million more, so
Actually, I lie. It's 2 goals, 3 assists because I'm looking at 2 assists in the game against Leicester beforehand.
yeah,
So in terms of actually attacking returns since Amorim took over, Amad Diallo's got more. But you would definitely captain Fernandes over Diallo, wouldn't you? You wouldn't
yeah.
captain
And
Diallo, I don't think.
no, you couldn't do that because you wouldn't know where he's playing week to week either.
What's really interesting about Diallo as well is, and I think you kind of nailed the hammer on the head there as well, there, Gary, with the fixtures, you'd be pretty happy to play him every week right up to that blank. And it's worth saying you've got Leicester away in the blank in game week 29. So people would be happy with that, even if he went in as like an eighth attacker. Southampton and Brighton at home, Fulham away, Palace at home, Tottenham away, Everton away, Ipswich at home. That's your
Mm.
run. It's Arsenal at home in between the Ipswich 27 at home and Leicester away 29. I could go this week Semenyo to Diallo, Jota to Gordon. I quite like that. I can just about
Mm.
do it. I'll have zero point 0.1 spare. Do you know what I like about that least? I
Selling
keep
Jota.
Trent.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I quite like that.
Yeah.
But Gordon, I think, is going to be the priority one for me this week. Matt, would you buy into the idea that other people go and target you from this
Yeah,
point? I mean,
yeah,
people who've got like Chris Wood might be, oh, it's Liverpool next, but it's the same thing. Exactly what Diallo's just said. Then it's yourselves.
yep,
Newcastle come and play at your place in game week 23.
yeah. It's Isak captain all over it.
Well, Salah's got Ipswich at home that week, so there might be a little bit of a
Yeah,
fight going on. But yeah, he'll be a contender, and Isak is certainly a contender this coming week as well. Gary, is there anything worth considering here in terms of your defence? I feel like I know the answer.
No, I don't think so because we're not going to keep. I just don't think we'll keep enough clean sheets, and that's not necessarily criticism of them for once. It's just that whilst we get used to this, we are just gonna we're just gonna concede goals. I think, and as good as some of them played on Sunday, they've all shown that they can have an individual error that will do any good work that the manager does anyway. So nah, I wouldn't have thought there's a need to go and get a defender from us.
If someone was in a luxury position and had 5 free transfers and had, say, Chris Wood and really
Hmm.
wanted to hokey cokey him because he didn't want to play against Liverpool but did want him against Southampton, what would you say to someone who asked about Hoyland as a 1 week punt?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not it's not the worst idea, is it? Given just based on the opponents, but you'd be doing it on the opponents, wouldn't you? Because Hoyland just, I don't know, there's something that's not quite right with him, is in terms of his goal scoring, and I don't know if that's him or the chances that have been created for him or both, but he gets a decent amount of goals, but you know that finish on Sunday, he never looked, you never thought
No.
he was going to roll. You wanted someone just to calmly roll that in the corner, or sweep it high, similar
But
to
then
what
he had one
Gakpo
a
did. And
very
he did,
similar finish against someone at Old Trafford that he scored against. A really lovely dink finish.
yeah, that's
Was
what
it a
it is.
winning goal against someone? Brilliant goal
It
he
was
scored
Yeah, there was one in Europe that was a great goal, and then there was one a week or
against
two
Brentford.
after Brentford. Yes, that
Was
was
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, but he doesn't.
He scored two
He
league goals.
exactly. You know, he, another thing. I mean, I think he's first choice. But would it if he plays on Sunday? Is it that inconceivable that Amorim tries to get Xerxes up front and make up to him for the Newcastle substitution? And so I don't know. Using two transfers to sell Chris Wood and buy him back. Don't know.
I
I
mean,
really
his
don't know.
XGI per 90 is very similar to Tyler Diblin.
Mm,
Make of that what you will. Gents,
yeah,
thank you both very much. Let's do correct score predictions before we finish, Gary.
2-0 to United.
Bottle job. Matt.
Oh, I nearly said 1-0.
3-1 to United.
Think you score, Matt, yeah?
Yeah, we'll get one.
Yeah, I don't see this being a rout at all, actually. I think, yeah, your away results haven't been too bad, Matt,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Lost 1-0 at Villa, the draw at Fulham, the draw at Brighton. You were winning at Palace, lost narrowly. It does, for one reason or another, feel like it's been at home. Can you put your finger on why?
I think it's nerves. I think the crowd turning is something that they aren't particularly used to, which isn't helping at all, really. Yeah, I think the pressure's just off away from home. This Sunday will be huge because obviously we've got Swansea at home in the FA Cup before we play Man United away.
Is that
I think,
important?
yeah, I think we'll go out with full strength because they need some confidence, and if they can't beat Swansea, then we go into
Well,
that
the
Man United
danger of
game.
doing that is you go full strength and then you lose that, Matt,
Mm.
as the opposite impact.
Yeah, no, I completely get that, but they need to play as a team full strength under this style just to get this one out of their system, I think.
I do agree, but with you, by the way, I think it's also worth noting the game is obviously next Thursday night,
Yep.
and obviously United will have another game against Brighton, which at times has been a problem fixture for you, Gary. 3 days later, that is also at Old Trafford as well. I'll go 2-0, I think, at the moment. But ask me again after the FA Cup at the weekend. Gary, anything you want to plug before we finish, my friend?
No, thank you.
And for yourself, Matt?
Just on Blue Sky and Twitter, obviously, clean sheet wipeout, but other than that, Planet FPL patron as always.
Good man. Thank you very much, buddy. Next week's Clash of Correspondents is the other fixture being played next Thursday night. That's Ipswich versus Brighton and Hove Albion with Paul Gore Allen and Sam Murray. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Gary and to Matt. Good luck, gents. Gary, particularly in the FA Cup at the weekend. Cue music, please, man child.